One of the software modules in Carlson that we normally only use as a auxiliary tool when we're talking about geology or mining, but which is a very powerful software in itself, is the Civil module, normally used for civil engineering tasks like road building, pads, general infrastructure developments. And one function that I would like to just briefly show today is actually building a road, which is quite a useful function, not only in itself, but for mine designs, particularly when we talk about open pit mining and building ramps, building access roads, anything outside or in addition to our pit shell. We can use the civil module and its functions to create conveyor belt ramps, access roads, pads for officers, and so on. In order to create a road, we actually only need a few prerequisites. First of all, we need to have an idea where we want to build the road. So I've just put on here a orthophoto as a background, but the orthophoto isn't really needed. It's just as a tool to know where I'm going to sketch a road in later on. We do need a terrain model. In this case, I've chosen a triangulation file. It is from an aerial survey of the area, which was done a number of years ago. So here's our surface, our terrain model. And we can see we've got moderately sloping terrain with some minor streams going through here, a height in the south, and some lows. So that's the underlying terrain for this area. Now, first of all, in order to generate a road design and to build a road, we need to decide where we want our road. For that, we just need to draw a 2D polyline into our design. Just going to set a color here. Let's make it something we can easily see in the design. And we'll pick a layer, polyline 2. And I'm not going to do this very accurately. I'm just going to sketch it in just to show you the principle. So let's assume we want to start a road somewhere here in the low-lying area. And we're going to cut through this ridge and maybe through this little valley. Not really anything one would practically do, but we can see some of the functions. So I'm just going to start here, give it a little bit of a curve, just to get it straight on. Maybe follow the contours and curve across our little stream and join the road down here, just like that. Now, for the software needs a line or measurements of where we are in 2D, and it needs some measurements in 3D so we can actually create the terrain of the road. So for the first one, we're going to produce a center line, and we can simply use a function polyline to center line file. Give it a name here, 2, and use it at the beginning. Just press it, and there we go. So if we're going to look at the file now, it was a centerline here. It's a simple text file. We can see basically from the beginning, it gives us a distance to where the next change in direction is, and then the coordinates of that direction change. So pretty straightforward. The next thing is we need a profile, which will be our elevation changes along our road. So for that one, we go to profiles, create a profile from grid or triangulation file. So it's going to read the information now from our terrain model along the lines of the roadway. Okay, profiles. We don't need a profile offset, so we're building a roadway, not a railway. So we're going to create a profile. Road 2. And again, we're going to select center line. And it's done there already. So if we were to again look in our Explorer, again, it's just a text file where it gives the various readings, distance away from the beginning of the line, and then it comes up with a elevation change and position for that, and an offset. So we've got now two text files, a profile and a center line, that basically describe the geometry of our proposed road line. Now, on the next one, we're just going to visualize our profile now. To profiles and draw profile. So our reference center line is 2. This one here we're going to remove and going to set our road 2 profile on top of our center line. So here we see in a slightly exaggerated fashion the actual terrain profile along our center line. Okay, here. Now we want to draw a grid and just do a visual representation on the screen. Okay. It's going to, our profile range is from 0 to station 9. And our elevation range is from 102 basically to 117 meters. We're just going to take the suggestions here for the grid as they are made by the software. Okay, I'll just take a starting or pick a location, my design file, and there we've got our road profile. Move that a little bit, centering it more in the screen and moving in. So here we basically see along the line where how the elevation has been plotted in function of our terrain model. This is now the terrain if we were to build our road just on top of the terrain. However, as we want to modify the terrain a bit, we need to design the road profile as opposed to the terrain profile. Again, we go to profiles, and here we go to design road profile, and we go to design on profile grid. Basically going to keep all the settings as they are, just change the layer name again. Okay. So the road profile to right. Let's just stick to the file names we know and work. So we pick first of all our log grid. That's correct. And now we start our road here on this first profile station. Say OK. Now we can see as I move my cursor along, we can see the elevation and the slope between the first station and the next station. If I actually wanted to, just by visual design, keep my slope below a certain percentage, I can already see that here on the screen. So we're just going to cut this in here, saying OK. Now we can go a little bit higher. We will say stay just around 4%. That's fine. Click the next station. Now on my command line at the bottom here, I can give some curve lengths or side distances that I want to use in order to give this a nice slope. I'll just give it a curve length of 50 meters. So it gives me a side distance of 158 meters down here and a K value of 23.9 as a suggestion. By default, it asks me if I want to accept this or not. I say yes. So then we can basically work our way through our road profile, just going with the same values. Again, working on 50-meter profiles. Now we're coming down a bit steeper into the valley. And I'm just finally going to pick the last one here. Put entity snap on, so we get it nice and clean onto the road. Again, last time, the curve length. And now we're going to end. So we could use some labels for our description. BC points, crest points, sec points, slopes, curve length, side distances, radius, external distance, and so on. So here we see now our original terrain. And here we see the change elevation profile of our new road that we've just created. So there will be quite a bit of cutting and a little bit of fill. So with that being done, we can now process our road. And what we normally need for that is, or what we would need to create first, which I've done in advance already, is a design template for our road. Design road template, we use the same as for the other one. And here we basically can freely design the section of our road. In this stage, we've got a top layer with a curb, stone left and right. Put a little bit of pedestrian or cycling path next to it, a solid bed as a foundation, and we'll have a bit of a grading next to our pathways, and we've given it a angle for any cut and fill operations that we would need to use. So that needs to be, one can have different templates for different type of roads, but these templates are only set up once usually, and then it can be used over and over again. So now we've got our profile, we've got our center line, we've got a road design, which are the three things we actually need now to create the road. So our center line file is this one. Our design profile is this one, and the template. So we take same template, and the surface we're going to use is surface. So those are basically only all the information we need, just a handful of settings. And if we say OK now, it takes us to the next menu where we will use a full range of stations. We can get station intervals, maximum offsets, various other things we can decide which we wanted to do. We could use fill in swell, shrink and swell factors for fill in cuts. If we wanted to be a bit more specific about our material behavior, we want a couple of reports. I'll take the triangulation and contouring out here. The triangulation we want, of course, but the contouring we don't need. So triangulation file is going to be row 2, like that, and do that, and we do want the not only a triangulation of the road itself, but with our existing surface, so we can actually see how it is. And we'll basically could draw a couple of other things, subgrade polylines, templates, loads, cross-section slopes, and so on. But for this little exercise, we just keep it as it is. So now we can get a report. It basically tells us all the input parameters that we've used, our processing, our total cut, which in this instance is 54,000 cubic meters, just a little bit over, and a total fill of just over 1,500 cubic meters. So it gives us a balance of surplus material of 52,500 cubic meters, cut to fill ratio, disturbed areas, and then the individual sections of our roads for the curbs, the subgrades and the grades. And on each station, we get a section and a balance report. So we know exactly how much material we need to move and where. For while we've been talking about that, it's constructing and writing the triangulation files. That's done now. This one here is a previous road I've created. This one here is the new one we've just created. You can see the parameter outline. It's quite a trench we've been digging there. And over here, we've got a bit of a fill. Doesn't mean much when we look at it this way. Much nicer way to look at it is actually in the surface file that we created. So I'm just going to take the coloring out, increase this a bit, and maybe reduce the lightning a bit, or a bit more shading. So here we can see how we cut this road, like half with a knife, a little into the terrain. See the slopes either side here. We see the fill over our little stream here. And we actually see the road profile here with our graded areas at the very outside, then our walkways, our cycling path, our curbs, and our road in the center. So there you have it. It's a very neat way, a quick way, if you want to build a road, a power line, any other, a conveyor belt ramp, whether it's by itself as a civil engineering project or whether use it in conjunction with a mining project or some auxiliary infrastructure. This is a great feature to have. Hope you enjoyed this little video, and thanks again until next time.